Nancey, as a Christian theist, what do you think of multiple universes?
At first, I was bothered by the thesis because I had written a long and complex argument about the so-called fine-tuning of the universe as a possible component to an argument for the existence of God. And then the multiple universes theories popped up, and I thought, oh, rats, they've just spoiled my article. But as I got to thinking about it, it does seem to be more consistent with a Christian and I suppose Jewish and Islamic conception of God to think that if it's possible to have more than one universe, and in fact, if it's possible to have vastly many universes, that's really more consistent with the nature of God as we understand him than to have just this one, by our current reckoning, very puny little universe, limited in time, and if it's possible that these other universes would be inhabited by intelligent beings, so much the better, because our understanding of God is that God created in order to have intelligent beings with the freedom to, and the intelligence and the emotional capacities to know and to respond to him in love. But even if many of these other universes, and of course vastly many of them would be, completely sterile of life, I see that as making as being no obstacle to an understanding of God's creative activity, because surely God is delighted with the intricacies, the beauty, the systematicity of the universe, even apart from intelligent life.
The randomness?
Even that. The best way, apparently the best way to create, and even human software designers, I think, have discovered this, is to produce, is to establish a process that by random variation creates as many luxuriant variations as possible, and then selection among those. And if God is, in some sense, selecting for universes with life so that he can interact with beings like us, that's one way of looking at it. But just luxurious overproduction seems to be the way that God has produced in this world, if you look at evolutionary biology, and it seems to be completely consistent to say that in creation of universes, luxuriant overproduction would be God's chosen method of creation as well.
Even if the percentage of those with intelligent life are an extraordinarily, vanishingly small percentage, the argument still holds?
Oh, I think so. I think that in the modern period, Christians and maybe other theists as well have done a terrible disservice to their traditions by overly anthropomorphizing them. We have done such a job of making the human being the absolute center of God's purposes and not appreciating the fact that God must appreciate nature as a whole. Otherwise, why create in such a way that it takes 13.7 billion years for the universe to get up to this point where we can have human beings? What was God caring about during all of those 13 billion years before we showed up? God wasn't unconcerned with all of those processes. I believe God loves animals. I believe God loves crystals. I believe God is just delighted in God's own capacity to create the physical beings of all sorts.
Does this imply that when God creates a system to generate these multiple universes, that God maybe doesn't know what those universes will spawn, and therefore it's a kind of an exciting thing to him? Or is this something that's pre-formed and he knows exactly the numbers that will have, the vanishingly small numbers that will have intelligent life?
Well, I'm one of the philosophers who believe that God really does know the future, doesn't need to work out the mathematics with a supercalculator, etc., just simply knows everything about what's going to happen in the future. And so when, if that even makes sense to say
Sure.
when God initiates the process, God knows exactly how many, what kind of universes there'll be, and certainly knows that one or more of those is going to have intelligent life with whom he can commune.